Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, this is your starter guide for Omni Man in Mortal Kombat 1. And we'll be covering all sorts of topics of the character, how the character works, what you should be doing and looking for combos, and some general Kameo strategies and more. And there'll be timestamps in the video, so skip to whatever makes sense for you. But first, before everything else, well, why Omni Man? You know, pros and cons, I guess you could say, of the character. And one pro, and it's probably the biggest pro, Omni Man. Like, yo, he's the character from the show, Invincible, and the comic as well. And that's probably a big reason why you're going to play him, if there is any reason at all to begin with. So, famous guest character, it sells itself, basically. But what else? Well, one, if you struggle with, say, the concept of neutral in fighting games, you know, the old back and forth, fighting for space, all that stuff, Omni Man is like the least neutral-based character in recent fighting game history. Not only does he have all sorts of, you know, charge-style moves just to get in whenever he wants, and yes, granted, you know, not necessarily the most safe on block, but usually when you're doing these, you're betting on the fact that they're going to hit, right? He also has the most neutral skips of anyone I've seen like in a long time, because not only does a certain amount of these charges just go literally full screen, he has a lot of effective moves with just like basically teleports built into him one way or another. And due to this fact, he can be on you whenever he chooses. It's literally as simple as that. Maybe you get blocked, maybe it's not safe, sure, but Omni Man can be directly on top of you whenever he wants to be on top of you, and the opposing player, the defender, they don't really have any say on that other than hopefully for them they correctly block. But otherwise, Omni Man is just always going to be around. And a big part of this moveset as well is he's fantastic against projectiles. Both in that his stance is projectile immune, so he can just literally just avoid it just going around. And his reactionary projectile punch is among the best in the game. Because once again, this can be anywhere on the screen. One of the benefits of the character is all of his specials also work all in the air. It's all universal. So on ground, on air, he's basically just as effective. So whether he's in your face, and he does have a very menacing walking animation too, by the way. That's really good. Or if he's just, you know, literally up in the opposite end of the screen on the other side, he can always be on you whenever he wants, which is great. Now, when it comes to cons, if you want to call them that, his ability to open people up outside of, you know, playing proper Mortal Kombat is low. Many people rely on the overhead low mix-ups to open people up, and technically he does have overheads, but they're very slow. They're very reactable. You can block it on reaction for the most part, and if it gets blocked, that's it. And his lows, like, while he certainly has them, it's not going to be like a mix-up kind of deal, right? You're going to have to beat the opponent by being better in a lot of ways, or being stupid and ignorant with neutral skip moves, whichever way works for you. But when it comes to the 50-50 concept, making people guess coin flips nonstop, guess overhead, guess low, guess overhead, guess low, he's just not that kind of character. But still, he's a very competent bruiser. Maybe he can't mix you up 50-50, but when he's in your face, he's got some fairly good sources of meterless damage, plays pretty well with certain cameos, and just kind of does the Omni Man thing. And if you like just tossing people around a lot, you're going to be seeing that move a lot in combos, by the way. And he's very vicious and brutal in the combos. Now, let's talk some notable normals. Obviously, every character has all sorts of normals, but some are just a little bit more useful than others. And for Omni Man, these will be some of those. First off, just stand 1-2. So stand 1-2 already. Stand 1 is your fastest move, right? Tied for down 1. And, you know, it's a combo starter, and it's very generous on the hit stun. You can go right into stance, right into grab, right from 1-2. So, in and of itself, it's your fastest normal. Hit confirm, get the hit, go right into combo. That's great. You're going to use this a lot, right? Doubly so, down 1, plus 12 on hit. So, it's a really easy jail option, because the other beauty of stand 1-2 is it's plus 3 on block. So even if you get blocked, it's still your turn, right? So if we go for, you know, the dreaded down 1 poke war right after that, you're going to win every single time because you're plus 3 on block. Simple as that. So it's always nice to know that if you go for a string, it's still your turn after the fact, and that's exactly it here. So stand 1-2 won't necessarily lead to all your biggest and most damaging combos, right? But you'll get that damage in, and you can go from there, and we'll cover more of that in the combo section. But it's just basically a workhorse. It's not flashy. It's not tricky. It's your fastest combo starter. It's hit confirmable, very easily so. Plus on block, lots to love there. Now next up, back 1-1 and back 1-2 specifically. So they're kind of a pair. So back 1-1 is a 12 frame starter mid. So that's already very good. Not a lot of reliable mids in the game. Some characters really struggle without quick, reliable mids, especially ones that just launch in and of themselves. And that's exactly what this does. So back 1-1 just launches. And by the way, the hit is jump cancelable, so you can go right into combos after the fact. That's very handy. The one weakness, if you want to call it that, and you can associate it with it is mid-high. So if the opponent happens to be crouch blocking, that high is going to go clear over their head, right? That's just how Mortal Kombat works. So obviously they would have to let go of block. If they just keep blocking the whole time, then it will connect. That is Mortal Kombat, right? But if they are aware this is mid-high, they can simply let go of block after the first hit. You whiff, they get a full punish. That's bad. You don't want that. But that's why back 1-2 exists. Because the second hit of back 1-2 is a mid. And if they get hit, they're just going to get blasted back. Now, you don't get a full combo like back 1-1, but that's the play and counterplay, right? You establish back 1-1 as the thing, then they might go for the counterplay, and when they go for the counterplay, you go for the counter to the counterplay, and then punch them in the head, knock them back full screen. Also helps both strings. Back 1-1 is -7 on block. Back 1-2 is -6 on block. So they're both effectively full-on safe. Very good and just strong. Once again, a 12-frame mid, just very handy to have. It's not your only mid, but it's your fastest, reliable, good mid. Now, the other normal you're going to learn to love, forward 4. So forward 4 also is a mid like back 1, but it's a good deal slower, right? 17-frame startup, so if you're directly in people's faces, this is not the button you want to go for. Thankfully, though, as you can see, it has some range to it, right? So you can approach people, and also there's a string, 4-4-1. So forward 4-1 is safe on block, -6. Unlike back 1-1, it is mid-mid, so there's no neutral ducking nonsense counterplay. They're both mids, and say if they don't block, it is also a launcher. So basically, it's combo time if it hits. And Omni Man with his pretty easy to go with combo structure, you can just basically do the generic thing and then blast them. And also, very handy, it does have a grab follow-up as well. So if you get the raw hit, and say you just can't think of a combo at the moment, you can just do this. Also, certain combos use the string and the grab ender as well, so it's handy. But yeah, it's a really workhorse of a move. The only thing you can nail it for, once again, 17 frames slow. Do not do this up front. You will get poked out, you'll get hit out. You're going to lose up front. 17 frames is too slow for directly in someone's face. But from roughly this range, it's a good approach. Once again, mid-mid, safe on block. Lots to love. Very, very, very strong. Now, this part here is more of a PSA, I guess. So, we mentioned in the pro and con section, his overhead low game sucks. Like, 4-2 has some good range to it, but it's almost 30 frames. You will occasionally catch people sleeping. Like, don't think this is impossible to hit, but it's not a reliable tool, especially considering it's unsafe on block, right? So, bust this out sparingly. Has forward 3 as well, which is a low starter. And technically, especially with cameos, you can get combo ability and all that. But 14 frame startup, also unsafe on block. Most of his specials are not safe on block. So if you're just looking for a quick low, go for the sweep. Sweep's actually the MVP. Sweep, 12 frame startup. Some pretty appreciable range, all things told, as you can see here, right? That's hits from pretty far away, especially for a 12 framer. And it's also the most damaging sweep in the game. I don't know why they decided to give him an extra damage sweep compared to other characters, but this is something that's actually really good. So if you're looking just for that quick low, keep the sweep in mind. It's really good. Not the least of which, also, you have significant advantage on hit. You're plus 15 on their wake up, right? And you're also directly on top of them. So if you want to go for, say, you know, quick back 1, they just have to wake up into it. Also, you just want to go into forward 4. If you're plus 15, 17 frames, right? Only 2 frame differential. Unless they armor through it, they can't do anything about it, right? And once they submit to the fact, okay, I can do any sort of button I want to, and I kind of just have to groove on it, you can just like walk up and throw them or something, right? So it provides a very powerful knockdown. It's a very good, just quick poke. Once again here, the range is deceptive. 12 frame startup, really good poke. For distances where, you know, stand 1's gonna whiff, Maybe you don't want to commit to, you know, back one shenanigans because, you know, they block whatever, and keeping that in mind, I guess, on block, right? So back one, look at that. So -7, sure, it's negative, but look at the extreme pushback on that. -7 with that kind of pushback is a suggestion, basically. It's not a big deal. So as far as just quick pokes go, man, just keep this in mind, because back one, if they block the first hit or whatever, then you got the, you know, the high mid guessing game. It's still worth doing, don't get me wrong. Not do back one, right? But just quick poke, if you get it, you get it. Big damage reward for what it is. Huge damage reward for what it is. You get a lot of plus frames, and you just pressure after the fact, right? Back one, 2 sends them full screen. You get no pressure. Back 4, tons of pressure. It's really good. Keep it in mind. And on the note, it's basically a combo ender, but jumping 1, 2, 1 plus 3, that guy right there, same idea. It's also plus 15. It leaves you very close to them. So all the things I said about back 4 just as applicable. You're pretty much directly on top of them. Pressure, really good knockdown. And plus you're going to end a lot of combos in it anyways. So just keep that in mind, that once you get that knockdown, it's time to really just start bullying them. That's what Omni Man's really good at, is bullying people. Now, let's go over the special moveset. Very key, obviously, to any character, but extra for Omni Man, because everything he does can be done on the ground and in the air. And also, speaking of the air, he does have an air dash. And you might notice there, that air dash, it can hit people. So it's not quite Natara. Don't confuse it for like super mobility. But if you need quick backspace off pressure, if you're looking as a tool to get in, keep in mind, it's an attack. So if you want to hit with it, sure. But you can't like just do buttons, like say like a Guilty Gear air dash or something. It doesn't work exactly that way. So if you're going with it, make sure that you actually like go through them, basically. So now, starting with the specials, let's talk Mega Clap. So Mega Clap, back forward 1, once again, just like all specials, can work in the air as well. And in and of itself, you could use it as a combo ender, I guess, but there's better specials to do it. It basically gives him an option for range he doesn't have. So say like forward 4 from this far away, it'll whiff. It's a good button, but it's not a magic button, right? It'll whiff. However, from the range here, where forward 4 will whiff, Clap doesn't whiff. Now Clap is pretty negative on block. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? -15. But generally from the range you should use it at, do not use it up front. But from the ranges you should be using it at, that's effectively safe. You know, maybe don't go crazy swinging out buttons immediately after the fact, but it's effectively safe. And the enhanced version has even more range, as you can see here. And there's a couple interesting things about the enhanced version. One, as you would expect, does more damage, very handy, has more range, as we've shown. But the thing about that, and the clap by itself too, this is a very good thing in this move's favor, is they both hit frame 1. Unlike, say, you know, a regular projectile, there's no travel time. All projectiles have to travel across the screen, and that takes time, that takes frames. Clap, with incredibly rare, like absolute pixel edge situations, always hits on frame 1. So if a move has 18 frame startup and hits on frame 1, that means that is effectively only 1 frame slower than the knee point blank, right? But can hit from this far away. So especially the EX version, it's a little difficult for him to spend bars sometimes, to be honest with you, as a character. Keep that in mind, that this is a hell of a poke, right? So if you're looking to close out a match, keep in mind it's not a projectile in and of itself, but it's got a good amount of range to it. This is not bad, right? So this is effectively your poke button. Just keep that in mind, right? And the EX version is an even better poke. And hey, speaking of projectiles, we talked about that, right? The EX version does destroy projectiles, as you can see here. So the startup is not invincible or anything like that. If you're too slow, you'll get hit out of it. But the actual clap itself does have a projectile destroying property to it. So if that's ever a thing you might be worried about from further distances, keep that in mind. Now, next up, Giblet Maker, back forward 2. Very simple move, honestly. This is effectively an equivalent to Johnny Cage's Shadow Kick. And the only difference being it's a mid specifically, so he cannot neutral duck this. It is a quick charging move. Basically, that's about all you need to know about it. So if you're just looking for a quick burst of speed, charge at the enemy, this is the move. Enhanced naturally, and also the EX version has super armor. So this is your move here if you just want to bulldog through stuff. This is the move you get random with, basically, right? Catch people walking, catch people spacing. Once again, as Omni Man, you don't have to worry about spacing or neutral or anything, right? You just go full-on chimp mode, and this is a move that is a chimp mode move. You can just rush in, and eventually they're just going to freak out and start blocking, and then once they start blocking, they're immobile, and you can use your superior mobility to do whatever you want to do, and not the least of which is just like running the throw or something, right? Like when they're blocking, anything's possible. Keeping in mind with that now, the next move, the Invincible Rush. So the Invincible Rush is basically Giblet Maker, except it's full screen. The one main difference here, keep in mind all moves are air okay, is if you do this move here from the air, it changes the property of the move. It becomes an overhead versus on the ground, it is a mid, and it becomes a ground bounce. And naturally enough, from a ground bounce, you get combo ability, right? So it's good for catching people sleeping in a lot of ways. A lot of the moves he has is. And it has some unique properties we'll talk about in the combo section as well. So normally it has to be the aerial version to get a ground bounce. You can actually do that on the ground. So in odd situations where the opponent's like almost on the ground, if you do the grounded version from a juggle and hit them right before they land, it'll give you the bounce instead. And there's several combo structures that use this property, and you can create new combos from it, right? So we'll cover that in the combo section. It's a unique trait of the move. I don't even know if it's fully intended, but it's in the game, so we'll teach you about it. Now let's talk Viltrumite stance. This is the defining move of the character. So he enters the stance, has a good air of superiority around him, and by itself, and once again, stance is air okay, by itself, he's projectile immune. All projectiles will simply pass through him. That's a very good property of the move. However, it's only projectiles, but that can be alleviated a bit with the EX stance. So the EX stance is immune to a lot more things. So on top of remaining invincible to projectiles, the EX stance also avoids all highs, mids, and all sorts of attacks, basically. So he can just dodge through a lot of stuff. Now keep in mind, obviously there's weaknesses, right? So he goes through all highs, mids, and throws with the EX stance, but he still gets hit by lows, so keep that in mind. And he does also actually get hit by overheads as well. But, so there's two weaknesses, overheads, lows, but highs, mid, throws, avoids all that. Also, the startup is faster. So it normally takes him 16 frames to enter the stance, and EX version takes him 7 frames. So it doesn't change the property of the moves he can do from it, but it does mean you can combo from it in different ways. So like say, 1-2 stance grab. That's a natural combo. But if we want 1-2 stance 2, won't combo. However, 1-2 EX stance 2 will combo. Why? Simply just because it's a few frames faster. So combo ability is also a big part. You can sort of use it as a parry almost in a way. Granted, it does not start up on frame 1, so don't use it as a wake up option. Use your EX charge for that. That's the one that has actual armor on frame 1, right? But yeah, lots of utility. Now, let's talk the moves. So now to talk the moves out of the Viltrumite stance. So one, you do have the option to hit forward and block. And when you do, it just warps to the other side of the enemy. Doesn't matter where they are on the screen. You can be directly beside them. You can be up in the air in the corner. It always just directly warps to them. So good if you know they're going to be doing something stupid or hitting buttons or going for projectiles or whatever. But in and of itself, it does have recovery. As you can see here, look how long it takes me to block. It's not instant, right? So if you want to quick get in, go for it. But if they're anticipating it, they can punish you for doing it. Also, if you hit down and block, you cancel the stance. Much in the same in the air. So just sometimes if you don't want to commit to any option, it just gets you out of stance. That's good, right? Don't always have to commit to a button because a lot of the options are not necessarily safe on block. But now, so stance 1, 2, 3, 4 all have a special move assigned to it. Stance 1 is the grab. You're going to be seeing a lot of this move. It's in almost every combo you're going to do. And learn to love it, basically, right? It's not a true command grab. It is a mid. So if they block, they'll block. And it's negative 17. It's punishable on block. Don't do it on block. It is basically combo fodder, nothing else. Stance 2 is a quick teleport on the other side, hit the enemy, and it does a lot of damage. A lot. You can see here almost 20% damage by itself. And this is your counterplay to projectile move. Now, obviously, you still have stance, right? Stance still goes through projectiles. But if you catch someone hitting a button, that's it. The ability of this move to travel full screen and punish any move, be it a projectile, be it a whiff button, be it anything, is amazing. So use and abuse. Now, it's basically a reaction check move. So if they're just sitting waiting and, you know, they block it, it's negative 21 on block. Once again, kind of an ongoing thing with these moves. Don't do this move if they're going to block, right? Use it as a reaction. Use it as a punish. It's amazing as that. Also, use it in certain combos with certain cameos. Also good that way. But yeah, don't just use it to use it. You better hope they're asleep at the wheel and don't block if they do. Otherwise, you're eating a big punish. Stance 3 is a big old teleport stomp. Basically, think Goro almost, right? The only difference here is an overhead, not unblockable, so you can block it. Now, to note on block, it's completely safe on block. It's -1 with tons of pushback. It is 0 consequence for a regular block. However, the up block mechanic of the move is an overhead. So if it's up blocked, that means you're probably going to get punished. On up block and flawless block, this move becomes much more punishable. So don't go willy-nilly. If they expect it, they can up block it on reaction, and then they get a free punish on you. But not everyone's always going to be on the ball all the time. So if you're looking for a quicker way to just, you know, skip neutral, this is a really good way to do it. Just there is a risk associated with it. Not the least of which, it does have a big old bounce. You happen to be anywhere near the corner, absolutely 1000%. You can combo after the fact very easily. So it's a very versatile move, very strong for what it is. Has one very detailed weakness, yes, but otherwise it's really strong. And the final stance button is stance 4. So stance 4 is effectively a teleport punch. Regardless of if you're directly beside the enemy or if you're on the other end of the screen up in the air, it hits on the exact same frame, 24 frame startup, but it hits at the same time no matter what. So the bit where he travels is almost like an illusion. It is effectively a teleport. So the move has a very big launch associated with it, and you can juggle very easily after the fact. That's good. That's handy. And another thing is you cannot be in any kind of the air against it. Even at the top of a jump, it can hit everything, right? And once again, it'll hit you wherever you are. So no matter what, just can't be in the air. So if you're looking to be fighting a jumpy foe, keep in mind this is very much a dedicated anti-jump. And obviously your juggle is going to be even bigger. And you can get much bigger juggle options after the fact than a normal grounded foe. Now, like the rest, death on block. Don't do it if they're going to block, right? That's kind of the running theme. But still, once again, all these moves, except for the grab, bring you directly to the enemy. And once again, that means you don't have to play neutral at all. The caveat is they're not safe on block. So just keep that in mind. Don't go willy-nilly. But they're all very strong in their own ways. Viltrumite stance is the defining aspect of the character, both in the evasion and EX evasion as well. You're going to be using it in every single combo, no matter what. That's just how this character works. And the fact that you can always be on top of the enemy, sure, they'll be wary of it. They'll know it's coming, right? But the second they let their guard down, you blink for a split second, Omni Man can be on top of you, and there's nothing you can do about it other than hope you blocked fast enough. Now to talk on Omni Man's Fatal Blow. In Mortal Kombat 1 compared to Mortal Kombat 11, Fatal Blow sort of got genericized. And that, yeah, still, they're all different in their own ways, but they're not quite as unique and deadly as many characters had in Mortal Kombat 11. And Omni Man bucks that trend in that he does indeed have a full screen mid-hitting Fatal Blow. And that means it works in a lot of the ways you think it should. In that, 100% you can use this move as a reaction check Fatal Blow. You see the startup of anything from full screen, guaranteed punish. Now to note, while it is a great reaction check super, it has a weakness in that it's a little slow. This is not Aaron Black. This is not Frost in Mortal Kombat 11, right? So if you're a bit too slow and reaction check, you will get blocked. Just so you know, and like many of the full screen moves he has, not terribly safe on block, right? But still, if you have, you know, the quick reactions, you can see the move startups for what they are, then even from full screen, guaranteed punish, you can hold people hostage over this. Now, granted, you know, he already has moves that do that, right? But you don't need to be in Viltrumite stance. You can just do this whenever. So you catch a whiff button, you catch the beginning of a special move startup anywhere on the screen. This, debatably as a raw Fatal Blow, might be the best Fatal Blow in the game. Because once again, at any point from, you know, mid-screen, full screen, wherever, mid-hitting, It just is a fantastic reaction check move. Granted, once again, one more time, just to really hit it home, you need the reactions to do it. If you're slow, depending on the character, depending on the move, they will be able to block. But if you're on the ball, you're anticipating something to happen, you absolutely can punch people anywhere on the screen. It's a really good fatal blow. Now, let's talk combo routes and Omni Man. For the most part, his combo structure is actually pretty simple. There is some ways if you want to get a few more % damage to get trickier stuff, but we'll cover the basics first and then we'll get more advanced. So the basics, stand 1-2. As we talked about, it's a good workhorse. It's your fastest starter. It's plus on block if you get blocked. And if you don't, well, then it's easy hit confirms. So let me show you an example good bread and butter combo for stand 1-2. So 33% off a quick 7-frame starter, meterless, not the worst, right? Now, if you want to get a bit more damage in, we can get a bit more tricky. So as you can see, that's not much more, but it is more. So the secret to that guy here is after the launch, when we jump, we want to jump 1-2 and delay after the fact. Don't go for it right away. If you go for it right away, you're not even going to connect, right? Jump 1-2 launches the enemy up further into the air. So if you jump, then delay your hit, that's what makes that possible, because normally the air dash wouldn't connect. Now it will. And after the second 1-2, launch it again. Go into stance. Go to stance 2. Get your big damage in. There you go. So that one's harder. So practice it if you want. See if it works for you. It's more damage than the other one, sure. But if it's too tricky for you, maybe it's not worth it. It's one you're going to have to practice around with a little bit. Now, how about back 1-1? This is going to be a workhorse of a launcher for you. Once again, fast mid, launches by itself. It's great. So let's give you an example combo for that. So pretty standard, meterless. Once again, this is all meterless damage here. 36% meterless, not bad. Ends with the 1-2, 1+3 stomp, gives you good frame advantage on the wake up. And it's pretty easy to do, but we can eke out just a little bit more damage. So let's look at an example that does more damage. So not a lot more, but 37% is more. So the thing about that one specifically here is you do back 1-1, jump 1-2, and you have to hit 2-2 very high up. Now the timing of 2-2 is difficult, and if you do not hit them very high up in the air, the combo will drop. You will not land the grab. So there is an element of timing there versus the first combo. A little bit less damage, not much less, but a little bit less damage, but much easier to land. So whichever one of these appeals to you, go for it. The one does more damage, but is a little bit harder to do. Now, what about forward 4 and forward 4-1? This is a workhorse of a normal. You're going to be getting a lot of your hits and a lot of your combos out of this, so we need to know something. So let's start with a basic combo first. So a quick and easy 33%, right? Not too bad, especially because this is generally going to be your longest range combo starter. Now in this combo, we can get more damage though, and we'll also spend a bar. We don't have too many opportunities to spend bar, and we'll show a couple examples of that later. But one thing we can do here is, after the launch, delay down 1, then go for back forward 4. And normally that would send people flying across the screen, but as we showed earlier in the video, if you do it the right timing right before you hit the ground, they'll be a ground bounce instead. The timing is difficult. You're going to have to practice this. But let's show an example combo. Now all of a sudden, we're getting about 40%. Not bad for one bar. No cameos needed here. That's great. Now, once again, it's tricky. You're going to have to practice it. The secret is you got to wait for that down one almost the last moment. But not exactly the last moment. There is a sweet spot. But practice it. Try it for yourself. And as you can see here, you can get a lot of damage. For the stand 3 after the fact, we use the EX specifically, the Viltrumite stance, because it has the faster startup. If you go stand 3 right into stance from the grab, it won't connect. You need to do the EX, but that's why we're spending the meter. And 40% for, you know, a mid-starter combo, that's not bad, especially because we're not burning any cameos. And just to show you, this is a wasteful combo, but it's also technically optimal. When we use the EX Viltrumite stance, we can get things we normally can't get because it's faster startup, right? So let's go and rewind back to stand 1-2. So we already showed some of the options here. But stand 1-2 EX Viltrumite stance and go into 4, when you use the EX with the faster startup, that is a natural combo. Normally, never in a million years would that connect, right? Too slow. But with that, well, let me show you, admittedly wasteful, but if you need the kill, here's a 2-bar combo off stand 1-2. So there we get 36%. Once again, maybe not the most optimal use of meter, but if you need damage, you need damage now, need a couple more percent than you otherwise would get, this is a way to do it. We get a different launcher. EX Viltrumite stance launches. That's great. We can combo it off stand 1-2. Normally we couldn't. And then after we get our stance launch, do the usual thing. Delay 1-2-1-2. And then EX stance again, 2. Normally, that would never connect off that, but since it's a fast startup, we get to the ground a few frames faster, and that will connect. So just keep in mind, EX Viltrumite stance is really good for a lot of things, in that it'll let you create combos that are not otherwise possible due to its faster startup. So now let's talk some fun cameo synergies. First up, I do like Sonya for Omni Man. 1, at bear level, you know, she'll give him a projectile. He doesn't have normal projectile. Obviously enough, when it comes to combo ability, Sonya being Sonya, she'll give him a few more things to work with than he normally would have, right? And get some decent damage, you know. A few more points of damage, nothing wrong there. But what's really fun with Sonya is her charged ring. So charged ring, you hold the cameo call, and after a split second, you can move around freely, right, while she's charging. And she charges a very big projectile that hits mid, no ducking it, does a lot of damage, and also fast recharge, which is handy. But basically, long story short, comes down to this. You charge the ring and immediately go into Viltrumite stance. And then we see what happens. So by itself, charge ring, stance 2, it's all a natural combo. And get 25% damage, it's not bad, right? So the initial hit of stance 2 hits first, and then the ring hits, and then the rest of the animation plays out. So it actually beautifully works together. That's great. And actually the key weakness to stance 2 is it's negative 20 something on block, right? Not good there. But in this scenario, it's actually plus 100 on block. Why not, right? Because the first hit happens, and then the ring immediately comes in and overwrites the block stun, and the ring has better block stun than the attack. So if it gets blocked, it's still your turn, and it's your turn by a lot. So that's really good. So if you see this happening, the easy counterplay is just a jump, right? Sure enough, right? But remember, stance 4 cannot be jumped. So much the same. If you do this, gets blocked, whatever. Plus 100 on block. You're good to go. Don't worry about it getting blocked. But if this setup gets jumped, you can't jump it. So you're still safe on block, and you're going to stop the jump. And of course, naturally, for whatever reason it hits, you can juggle, whatever, right? That's good. But yeah, it's just fun setup. It gives Omni Man a safe on block way to harass people from full screen. Normally, most of your cool setups are death on block, but with the ring backing you up, you can get pretty silly with what you want to do, right? So this is a fun way to go around it. Has a built-in counterplay against the obvious defense against it of jumping. So yeah, I think Sonya is really fun. And obviously she gives more damage to combos, all the usual stuff you would expect. But it lets Omni Man play in a unique, fun way, which is one of the best things a Kameo can do, right? Adding more damage to combos is great. But being able to give you all new options, that's the real fun stuff. Now, in somewhat the same vein, there's Stryker. So one, Stryker does shore up Omni Man's mix-up weakness, right? Obviously, has the low and he has the overhead nightsticks, right? So his overhead low game's not great. Stryker gives you a bit of an overhead low game to work with, so that's good. That's something he's deficient in, and Stryker shores up that weakness. But the big thing about Stryker, and for any character really uses Stryker, is he lets you play stupid. Basically, all your unsafe Viltrumite stance cool moves that you want to do, get your damage in, just do your move. Just call Stryker first. Stryker's your insurance policy. Because if you get blocked, Stryker's like, nah, don't worry about that block. Didn't happen. If they try to take their turn, try to get their punish, they're going to get hit in the head by a grenade. And for some of these, Stryker actually plays along very well because you can actually enhance your combos. Like you can enhance your juggles, get higher juggles, you can combo into strings you normally wouldn't get. Or even simple things like using the stance warp, right? Just stance right before you warp, call Stryker, and then if they're on the ball, try to punch you. Once again, the grenades are coming either way, so if they try to hit a button, they're going to get hit by the grenade, then it's back to your turn again, right? So since he can be on top of you whenever he wants, due to the nature of his moveset, the fact that Stryker has the ambush grenades to kind of just cover everything, the synergy is really easy. Basically, Stryker lets you play with a much more consequence-free play style than you normally would have with Omni Man, because your key weakness is getting blocked, getting punished, and Stryker ambush grenades say, nah, just warp in, we'll figure it out together, right? Maybe at worst he might interrupt your combo. That can happen occasionally, depending on the timing, but otherwise, Stryker enables your stupidity. And the more stupid you can be in a fighting game without consequence means the more often you're gonna win. And then there's Omni Man Darrius. So Darrius does all the Darrius stuff, right? I won't belabor the point to talk about Darrius in much other videos in the past. Allows you to do all the mix-up, and Omni Man works great with all the various mix-up stuff. Sure, awesome. But it allows him, Stance 2 specifically, to make Stance 2 exceptionally deadly. As if you call Darrius at the exact right moment when he does Stance 2, does the usual thing, spin out, and you recover right in front of their face. And it's sort of like a Reiko situation where you get a full combo and you get a lot of damage. (46% off basically a full screen teleport hit. Not too bad. We do use the X Viltrumite stance. Once again, this faster startup, but still, it makes already very deadly move exceptionally deadlier. People really gotta watch out blocking that, because that's potentially a game over scenario. And just kind of on that alone, I'm not gonna say Darrius is the best pick or anything, but it's something to really keep in mind that you can turn one move so exceptionally deadly. And that is Omni Man. So Omni Man, compared to the rest of the cast, honestly, I think he's very straightforward and quite simple, honestly. That's not a bad thing. In fact, you can almost say that's a positive. If you like the hyper-technical characters, he's definitely not it. But if you're a fan of Invincible, you're looking to play some Mortal Kombat because he's in the game, yo, he's really good, especially for a beginner. He has a lot of interesting movesets. Once again, he can kind of circumvent the usual rules of fighting games by the fact that he can be on you whenever he chooses. Most characters, that's not generally how that works, and most fighting games, that's not how that works. But for Omni Man, he's a Viltrumite. For him, that's exactly how this works. He's simple, straightforward, and fun. And that said, I hope this video has helped you out of your understanding of the character and will help you out in your enjoyment in playing the character. And all that said, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Mortal Kombat.